how to put your saxophone together. I'm going to go through step by step how you do this in order to be ready to play your first few notes. So first things first, we want to grab our reed. Now, this is the first part of the saxophone that I like to get because it needs to be wet in order to work. So pop it in your mouth, or if you're not too keen on that, into a glass of water, so that by the time we finish putting our saxophone together, this reed is ready to play. Next, you'll want to grab your neck strap. Now, I like to use the neck strap because then it frees up my hands to put the rest of the instrument together. So go ahead, grab your neck strap, put it around your neck. Next, you'll want to shorten the straps. So at the moment, this strap is all the way down, which makes it easy to put it on and take it off my head, but it will be at the wrong height for my saxophone. So I want to bring it up halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way. Now, this won't be perfect. We will have to adjust it again once the saxophone is here, but to start off with, halfway, 3/4 of the way up. Next, we want to grab the saxophone body. Now remember, grab it from the bell. When you grab the saxophone from the bell, you can't damage it in any way. So just make sure this is where you're placing your hands when you're picking up your saxophone. On the back of your saxophone is this little metal ring. Now this little metal ring is where we want to attach our neck strap to. So go ahead and slide your neck strap through the metal rings. You can then hold your saxophone. Now already I can feel that this is very, very low and I feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I am actually going to adjust my neck strap again right now. This brings it up a little bit higher and makes it a bit easier to work with. Now you may or may not have a safety cap in the top of your saxophone. If you do, make sure you remove it. This is where your neck is going to go. So if there's something in there, obviously your neck is not going to go on there. So just go ahead and pull that out. Now this little plastic bumper has two functions. It protects this little octave lever just here, and also if something happens to the saxophone from this side down, it protects the neck and makes sure that there's less likely to get damage. Next up, you'll want to grab your neck. Now remember, the neck, we don't want to be touching this octave lever. If you touch this octave lever, you do run the risk of bending it, and it is quite an easy piece of the saxophone to bend. So when I grab it, I like to grab it either from the cork end, where I'm not going to damage it, or if I do place my hand over, I just make sure that there's a little bit of a gap so that I'm not actually resting my hand on the octave lever. Next, you want to grab the tenon, which is this side here. So this is what we call the tenon. It is a piece of smooth metal, and this is the part of the saxophone that goes into the body. So when you're placing your neck into your body, just be careful of this octave lever ring, and also remember that octave lever here that I was talking about. What we're going to do is we're going to place these together, and the neck ring is going to go over the one on the body. Now it should go on that easily. If it doesn't go on that easily, chances are your tenons, remember, these parts here are your tenons. Your tenons probably need to be cleaned. So grab a cloth or a bit of paper towel and just use a little bit of elbow grease to rub on that tenon until it's nice and smooth. Don't forget to also do the inside of the body. These are two pieces of metal which are going together. So if one of them is dirty, chances are it'll be a little bit difficult to put together or take apart. Now, before I tighten up the neck screws, I just want to make sure that everything here is lined up. So the neck is literally facing in the opposite direction to the bell. Now that it's all lined up, we can tighten the neck screws. Now you don't want to tighten them too much, just enough so that your neck doesn't move. Now that you've got the body and the neck of the saxophone together, we want to put the mouthpiece on. Now there's two ways you can do this. You can have the mouthpiece, put it on, then add the ligature and the reed, or you can do it the other way around. You grab your mouthpiece, put your reed and ligature on, and then twist it on. If you do it this way, chances are you might bump your reed and have to straighten it, so just be mindful of that before you start playing. So, grabbing your mouthpiece. Doesn't matter where you grab this, grab it with a fist. We're going to be twisting it on to the cork on our neck. So remember, grab the saxophone somewhere up here, but don't bend the lever. Now we do want to be grabbing the neck, because if we're grabbing somewhere down here, chances are we're going to be bending our neck. Unintentionally, we might yank it down, we might yank it up while we're twisting, or we might even just move it left or right, which is really not ideal. So make sure you're holding onto your neck. Then we want to grab our mouthpiece and twist on. If your mouthpiece isn't going on smoothly, you may need some cork grease. Now these come in chapsticks or little round circular containers, and it's just a type of synthetic or natural material which adds a little bit of lubrication to the cork, which allows the parts to go on smoother. You do not want to be putting your cork grease on the neck tenon. Remember, this is metal on metal. There shouldn't be any grease or lubrication on this joint. Instead, the tenons just need to be clean and it will move on together. The cork, however, may need a little cork grease. Use sparingly, very, very small amount. If you can see it, chances are you've put too much on. So just a small amount. Okay, now that we have our mouthpiece on, we want to add our ligature. And then of course the reed, which we've had in our mouth for the whole duration of this process, or in a cup of water. Now I like to place my finger on the back of the ligature and push it forward, which then allows me to slide the reed down. So the reed is now between the mouthpiece and the ligature. I want to line these two up. So I use my thumb, my pointer and my middle finger around the outside of the reed and the mouthpiece to make sure that it's nice and central. Once I'm happy with the alignment of the reed, check that the ligature is pushed down as far as it can go and gently tighten the screws. You don't want them too tight, same as the neck screws, just enough so that your ligature isn't going to move anywhere. And that is how we put together our saxophone.